Memorial Day weekend 1972. That's when Bob Campo Jr. and the shop crew from Campos decided to see how far they could take their Evinrude outboard-powered jet boats up the Salcha River. 34 years earlier, in 1938, Bob's father, Bob Campo Sr., had first come to Alaska from Washington State, where he worked as a machinist. An avid fisherman and hunter, the senior Campo had a passion for running as far up Alaskan rivers as he could get in an attempt to take a moose back to feed his family for the long Fairbanks winters. Bob Sr. was instrumental in the design and development of the spring-loaded outboard motor lift, a contraption that was bolted to the boat's transom and lifted the outboard higher when the driver leaned on the lift handle, allowing the prop to skim over shallow sand and gravel bars. So on that sunny day in 1972, the crew loaded up the flat-bottom, riveted aluminum Washita riverboats with food, tents, tools, and of course a few extra impellers and jet feet, knowing full well about the boulder gardens that added some extra challenges to finding the upper headwaters of the Salcha River. This is where they were hoping to hang their shiny new Evinrude Country sign many hours after leaving the boat launch. And succeed they did, after thumping and pounding the flimsy, riveted hulls 120 miles up the river, with moose and caribou witnessing their incredible adventure. A story of the banner-hanging trip appeared in the July 1972 issue of Docklines magazine, a publication by Evinrude about unique boating trips from Evinrude dealers from all over the country. Fast forward 20 years, and now Bob's son Craig, yet another Campo river rat, decided to continue the tradition. Craig moved the challenge to the Goodpaster River near Delta Junction, where the family had a small cabin 45 miles up the river to be used as a base camp. The challenge, to reach the highest point upriver by jet boat, became an exciting annual event for the younger Campo, who used the adventure to constantly test and improve the shallow water riverboats sold at Campos. Tunnel hulls, stomp grates, wheel kits, and most recently, UHMW bottoms are just a few of the innovations that have made finding the upper reaches of an interior Alaskan river less damaging to the boat and much easier on the operator. In 2004, Campo and his crew made another charge up the Goodpaster, this time with folks from Riverjet magazine along for the ride to see if they could surpass the previous record from just 3 years prior. With a lot of blood, sweat, and beers, cracked open of course only after they set up camp, Campos adventurers proudly hung their new sign between two trees high on the riverbank as if the crew had just stepped off the lunar module. After all, this assault on the river is what Campo and crew seem to live for. This time around, the shop crew was pretty sure no other jet boat would be able to navigate as far up the river, and so the challenge in 2004 became official. A $500 cash reward would be offered for any other brand of jet boat that could make it past the hanging sign. The use of helicopter to lift the jet boat there prohibited. Over the next 6 years, the sign remained. Several local hardcore boatniks and some of Campo's competitors in Fairbanks attempted to retrieve the now infamous sign, collect the $500, and more importantly, the bragging rights. In the end, the only thing damaged more than the challengers' boat bottoms would be their egos. In August 2011, Campo and Company decided if anyone was to move the now faded 7-year-old sign further up the river, it would have to be the Campo crew themselves. After all, the new and improved SJX jet boats now had the added advantage of a full 3/8-inch thick UHMW ultra-high molecular weight plastic bottom, cleverly named Black Ice, giving incredible impact protection and making the bottom many times less abrasion resistant than aluminum. The water level in the Goody was about average, meaning that the boulders that lined the river about an hour above Pogo Mine would make the challenge exciting and a bit dangerous. Campo decided to bring along a film crew for the event, Grizzly Media, who was working on a promo project for a national network that specialized in unique, non-typical outdoor and hunting adventures. This trip seemed to fit the bill perfectly. Since it was caribou hunting season, the new goal was to not only move the sign further up the headwaters, but to bring back a caribou on the same trip. Furthermore, the network requested an Alaskan gal to be part of the River Challenge, perhaps due to the success of the Sarah Palin TV series that had been featured on another network earlier that year. The addition of a tough Alaskan gal on the trip seemed a national prerequisite, as the 1972 Salcha River Challenge that Craig's father organized included the wives of 3 of the employees that were part of that initial adventure. Not to be outdone, the 2011 team was fired up and ready for the challenge on August 25th. The players were Craig Campo, his sales manager and hunting sharpshooter Rodney Vesper, Steve Stokowski, the owner of SJX Jet Boats in Orfino, Idaho, Chris Daly of Grizzly Media, and Jennifer Uhas, who has been heavily involved in outdoor and NRA issues and a huge supporter of statewide hunting rights. Uhas is known for her love of hunting and outdoor adventures and quickly accepted the offer to join the crew on the River Challenge hunting trip.
What's the plan for the day?
Today,
What are you doing?
we're multitasking. I think what I'd like to try and do, of course, is move our sign. That's what we're here for. But obviously, try and get a caribou at the same time. There's a lot of hazards out there. You'll see. I mean, there's trees down, there's shallow shelves, there's switchbacks. Like the Easy Clean, you have to run to the back of the boat and stomp it and keep going. Well, now we've developed a handle, a helm lever, so if you get something in on a bad spot and you're drifting towards a sweeper, you simply shut the key off, grab the handle, start it and go. You remember '04 when Rodney was there when we put the sign up. I mean, we were physically exhausted by the end of that day.
Yeah, everybody by the end of that day, it's the mental strain of, are we going to get back down? Are we going to hit again? Oh my God, are we going to have to drag this thing another 5 feet, 10 feet? Right, are we going to rip it in half up here? Because every rock you hit, you stick to almost, and you have to hop out and drag the boat. And, at some point, it's draining.
So this is really a testing ground, is what it is. We're kind of pushing ourselves, but then every year we come back and over winter we think, well, how can we make it better? How can we make it easier? As you get older, your body gets hurt more when you're pushing these boats off gravel bars, so you want to be able to slide over stuff. You can't do that with an outboard jet because there's not enough control in the water. You can't do it with a typical inboard jet because it's too heavy. And the nice thing with these boats is they're 3/4 lock to lock on the wheel. In single lever, you can be going 50 miles an hour. You can be going backwards in 1 second, half a second motion. There's not an easier boat to drive in the world.
So when will we need that feature? When will you guys use it?
What time?
All the way.
Friday, the weather was perfect, about 65 degrees and clear, which is exactly what you want for good visibility to make the run up. Campo knew that perfect conditions like this going upstream were far from perfect conditions coming back down. The severe sun glare on the river in the later afternoons make navigation treacherous, with sleepers just at or below the water surface, littering the river for miles through what the group refers to as the Boulder Garden. After going past Pogo Mine at 88 Mile, almost the only sign of civilization on the river past the splits, we continued upriver and took a lunch break at Rock Creek Cabin, an old trapper's cabin built in the 1930s or 1940s. After a quick lunch of kippered king salmon and Ritz crackers, the crew pushed on, dodging more boulders and gaining elevation rapidly. As the SJX boats continued up the river, the steady climb of the river dumping out of the foothills felt completely different than the lazy, slow-moving water of the lower river. According to the GPS from the previous sign location in 2004, the elevation gain from the point of departure at the Delta Bridge to where the sign hung is almost a quarter mile. At this point in the trip, you can actually see 6 to 12 foot rises in elevation from one bend in the river to the next. Finally, after a couple more hours of boulder thumping, sweeper dodging, gravel bar skimming, and beaver dam jumping, the excited and now frazzled crew made it to the old sign location from 2004. The wind and weather had taken a toll on the old plastic sign. In fact, the crew could still clearly see signs of aluminum that they had left on the rocks from years earlier.
You can see it on the rocks on either side here.
For this crew, it was suddenly comforting to know that no other boats had been to this point in the river since the Riverjet gang hung it there in '04, 2 years before Sarah Palin was even elected the mayor of Wasilla. At this point in the trip, an executive decision has to be made. And with the new UHMW bottoms and other new innovative skinny water add-ons, the decision is an easy one. Gentlemen, start your engines. Let's keep going, said Compo. From this point, the most common words uttered in the boat as all pushed on were, "That ought to be interesting coming back down." 180-degree switchbacks, constantly braiding river channels, fallen trees completely across the river, and shoals of nothing but wet rocks make pushing further a real challenge going upriver. These same obstacles coming downriver with a racing current and a blinding sun off the water make the return more than just memorable. It's what shallow water river addicts refer to as the pucker factor. Smacking a few boulders on the return is not just a possibility, it's a probability. Fortunately for the crew, these new SJX have solid welded, not skip welded, stringers and gussets, giving the boats incredible strength and the ability to take a pounding without causing the hull to split or the welds to crack. The durable, thick, slippery bottoms are far more forgiving than raw aluminum, and it is almost impossible to puncture a hole in the boat bottom with a UHMW protection. The amazing material is the same thing that bulletproof vests are made of. In fact, Compo has used the term bulletproof in his sales pitch for the boat bottom, and it's more fact than just sales hype. With new, never-seen river in front of them, the excited gang of 5 kept charging. Within just a couple of miles, they encountered a very tight and technical stretch of river. What little water remained split into 3 narrow braids. The only chance to get past it being an 8-foot-wide strip of water hugging the right bank, with trees hanging over the riverbanks as virtual keep out signs, and a steep, gradual incline of water spilling over the semi-exposed rocks as it entered the corner.
So we're up a fair amount past the old sign from 2004. We got a shelf of rocks here. We're going to have to pull this gut next to that tree and then hug tight. It's going to climb about 6 feet here up on to the flat water again. So we should be able to make it with the plastic bottom. Shouldn't be a problem. Then we'll just see what's around the corner.